Hi guys, I'm Aisha and we're here to host these lovely people and listen to their amazing opinions and hopefully have some great questions from you as well. So we have Ikiswan Jamang here, who is a fashion content creator and just won the Cosmopolitan Fashion Influencer of the Year last month. Her styling and fashion sense has gained a lot of traction and she is definitely reshaping the current fashion scene. Karan Sareen blends his comedy and sartorial choices quite beautifully, leaving his audience in splits while asking for PP as well. Diksha Rawat is a fashion and beauty content creator and YouTuber. Diksha has a massive fan following, which is a testament to her amazing and unique style. And of course, we have Aman, who is the founder of A-List Club, which is revolutionizing influencer marketing, enabling budding creators to do big things. So basically, we're here today to talk about from runway to reels as we have grown up, not you Gen Zs, but us elder millennials, looking at fashion as being the traditional form of seeing it in magazines, through Bollywood, of course, on the runway, and now how there is a larger platform, especially through YouTube and Instagram, and it does not only remain on the traditional sense of the runway. And especially, personally, I've seen after the pandemic and the lockdown, how everyone has been given this platform and everyone is accessing it to be able to showcase what they feel or how they would style something or even their opinions on things. And it's completely open for everyone. It's not only to the high-end people who have access to very high-end brands or Bollywood. And you guys have been in the crux of it because the whole revolution happened about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You've been in the midst of it, you've shaped it actually. I want to know where you stood before and how, of course, this great revolution has happened and how things have gone through the change and where you are at now. You want to start, Karan?
Hi everyone. I think before content and before COVID, I was a fashion designer full time. I had my own studio. I had a lovely thing going on which I was building from scratch. But with COVID, everything shut down. The rent, salaries, well, nothing was going on. It was very difficult to manage. And I guess I was just making reels and Instagram content to battle my anxiety because right now nothing was happening and I was like, what can I do anymore? So I was just having fun. And thankfully it went somewhere. It got shaped into this beautiful thing that's happening now and the reason why I'm here in front of you all. So that was me before content and this is me after.
Should I or
Yeah, go.
okay. I think so. I've majored in psychology. I've done my BA and my major, my master's in psychology, and then that was like before COVID. And I used to love fashion while growing up. I loved fashion, and I think during the pandemic, it became a way for me to just like explore more, experiment more on my style and everything. And that kind of like really helped. And plus, it really made me overcome like, I was not so confident back then. It created so much confidence in me. I was like, wow, I can look good in this. I can do this. I can try it this way. So I think during pandemic, like I styled like different, I wouldn't say genre, aesthetics. You had your gopcore, you had your Y2K. So that kind of like helped me elevate my style that is today. So that created a lot of confidence as well.
Okay. For, hi. Before pandemic, I remember I was creating content, not videos as such. But I think what happened during the pandemic and why there was such a surge of so many people showing up and creating content, I think it was because we had such little outlet. We were confined to our spaces, and everybody was looking at ways to express everybody was looking for an outlet and ways to express their creativity. And there were some people who were creating content, and that inspired this huge wave and inspiration amongst so many people. And we saw such amazing content during pandemic, and that is when I started creating videos. And yeah, I think it was the best thing. It really brought people out of their shell because we had so much less to do that we were like, it's this or nothing, right? This is the only way we can express ourselves, and there was nothing to lose. So I think that made people change their perspective and show up. And yeah, I think it has been great for everyone, for me as well.
Aman, you work with them. Just I'll change the question a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
with for you, because of course you're also at the forefront of seeing these creators, and they're actually the next generation. It's not even just us. It's more and more and more. How do you see the change? Because you've seen the change from the first wave of the creators or in this category, and there are so many more coming up now.
No, absolutely. So what I think happened is COVID just forced the world to go online. And I think that created the basic economics of demand and supply. That while the demand from all segments became online because the offline world was shut, creators had to be born. So it was something I expected. And to be honest, A-List Club as a company is born out of that wave. So if pandemic had never happened, I don't know when A-List would have existed. Or, like the journey might still have happened, but the duration the reason was COVID. What happened initially, and I remember it so vividly because when 2020 is when we started, right? And we were one of the first ones who wanted to target nano and micro creators. When we used to speak to these creators in outreach, and I used to do this personally on DM, the most common feedback I used to get is like, listen, we're not influencers. Like, we have like 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers. Traditionally, that's not what influencer was categorized as. So we, as a company, had to make them realize that, listen, there's a new wave coming where content is a lot more important than your numbers, where your social influence within your own category of people, whether it's 5,000, 500, or 10,000, is a lot more important. And if you can become relevant within your niche and within your audience, then you're bound to go somewhere. So I think that is the biggest wave. You asked me about the couple of waves that happened, right? So in the first wave, I think creators were being born. They were coming out of the shells. The people were experiencing, people were experimenting. By the second wave, when it happened, let's say during the ends of 2021, people knew what influencers were. People knew what influencer marketing was. People saw potential in it. People knew that this could potentially be a side avenue, if not a full-time career in its own. So that inspired a lot of other people to join hands, be like, cool, if my friends can do it, people that I like can do it, why can't I? So yeah, I think that was a great blessing in disguise, at least for this industry that we exist and operate in.
But it all seems very rosy on the outside, and I know we've spoken about this, that even if whether it's 1 million or a few 100K, whatever, this new form of work, also, it is work at the end of the day as well for you guys. It has to be self-motivated. There's no boss sitting on top of you, telling you what to do, guiding you. If something goes wrong, how do you motivate yourself to go on? In an office scenario, you just have to because like you're supposed to unless you're fired. But for you, you have to do it yourself. And I know me and you, Diksha, have spoken about this. And how do you balance that? And the highs are great, but the lows are also there. And then you are responsible of getting yourself out there and creating again and again and again.
I think the good part of it is that yes, I can do everything on my terms. That's a good thing. But the bad part of it is that I don't know when to stop. Like when to not push myself too much. And I think that's just a pro and con, and I can't complain about that. But with content in general, I feel like because it's such a changing environment, you constantly have to change and be relevant, and but you also have to be authentic, and you also have to be relatable. You also have to be exciting. There are so many boxes that you need to check, and everything changes so quickly. And I find that really hard. I don't know. Like people don't talk about it, but I know all of us. At least from what I know and my creator friends, is that we see failure more than we see success. And it's very disheartening to try something new and then fail at it. But we don't have a choice. This is the job, and there are so many benefits of this, and we love it so much. So it comes with the territory. You have to keep trying and try to find that, I don't want to use this word, but the balance of just being yourself, but also change with the environment. But but without being unauthentic.
And you end up over-analyzing things and when to stop because it's only you
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And as we, of course, spoke that it has made Instagram and YouTube, everything has become, it's opened everything up for everyone. Anyone can participate, anyone can comment on things. Everyone's a critic and everyone gets the awards. But it also still, fashion on its entirety also dwells on being aspirational, even though it's opened it up to creators as well. It's almost exclusionary also. They still want to be snooty, and there's still people who might not want to include you. And Karan, we've spoken about this as well, and you speak about this extensively, that you are a creator and you are very interested in fashion, but there are many hurdles that you face, and through that you end up also, of course, making your own clothes because you don't find enough clothes that you would want to wear. And do you then eventually see this demand that you will supply to on your own? Maybe you make your own brand? But how? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, the kind of snootiness that you're talking about is on a couple of levels because, first of all, I started my content from comedy, so the shift to fashion is anyway a difficult one. And fashion being the kind of industry that it is, there's the acceptance comes very, after a certain level, after a lot of hurdles. And when it is about not even being a conventional body type, that adds to the problem even more because it's just like, okay, I mean, for brands, there are certain brands and certain designers that want to work with you, but they're like, oh, but we do not have anything beyond the sample sizes with us. Yes, I would like to dress you for this event, but I'm really sorry because I don't have anything and I don't want to construct anything unless it's paid for. So, these kind of things, there are these kind of hurdles when it comes to content when it comes to fashion content. Uh, I mean, I've always felt that this discussion only has not happened for especially like body positivity, but like when it comes to men especially, like it's a completely secluded zone because nobody's talking about it. Like women's health, women's magazines, women's everything that you talk about, beauty or lifestyle or health, be it in television or movies or again magazines and print, there is no such discussion happening around men. I mean, men are insecure about a lot of things when you talk about it, be it a receding hairline with age, or be it not having the gym body that other friends have, or like not the abs, not the kind of facial growth, facial hair growth that they would like to have. So there are a lot of things that we don't talk about because, when it comes to men's health or men's, even for example, like the print we talk about. Reading those kind of magazines will only find you a couple of topics for men, which are either gymming or sports or well women. So there are no talks about insecurity, and there's no talk about how to deal with who you are and how to accept who you are, which is why I don't think that has translated well in fashion industry as well, and which is what we'd like to have more of a conversation around and have things better for us. So yeah.
But it also, I guess, comes from the fact that men are not supposed to have feelings,
Yeah, I
let
mean,
alone have feelings about how they look.
definitely. So it's it's very layered when it comes to these kind of things, and it's like one thing leading to another, and like there's an idea around being a man, which is why there are a lot of things that you don't see happening in this space. And I mean, in general, you see a lot of change happening now with hetero men or like from the queer community as well, which is kind of shaping things for like I believe a better future, but I mean it's still a slow growth. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I would like to add to that, but Karan's absolutely right because if you look at the pure demographics of the world of influencer marketing, the ratio is so off. Like I would say like within, like it's a 70-30, if not 80-20 ratio, that men are still taking so much time getting out of the shell and be willing to openly express themselves and take criticism because society is not allowed it yet. So creative expression is still something that is looked down upon when men do it. So the quantity and the quality of creators that exist in this space is slow, but I'm hoping like creators like Karan and other creators that are coming into this space can actually inspire a lot of other people to step up.
I guess I wanted to touch upon region with you a little bit. We're all here from the north, and I remember when I was in Delhi University, before Instagram, everything, yes, much before Instagram, we always noticed the students from Northeast being the most fashionable, and they had the nicest clothes, and they were on the forefront of every trend that we saw on Tumblr in those times, whether it was gothic or emo, and you could not, like right now if I go somewhere I can say, okay, that dress that girl's wearing is from Zara and that's from H&M. But at that point of time, we didn't know where these girls and boys were getting these clothes from. They were thrifting. They were at the forefront of fashion long back, and they were very confident about it. There was no hesitation in it, and that was something very admirable. Where do you think that kind of sense of fashion comes from, and how, and of course, you were able to channel that as well?
So I'm from the Northeast. I'm from Manipur. Back in the Northeast, so we love to thrift, and I think music and fashion is something that is so like ingrained in us. And plus, music and fashion goes hand to hand. Back when I was a kid growing up, my aunts and all would watch K-pop, would watch K-drama, and all of these started like stemming from there. Plus, we had so many thrift shops. Plus, we're also much closer to the border, like Burma, China. So we used to get clothes that even mainland India would not get. So it was much easier for us to like look at go thrifting, get the most unique pieces, and wherever we went, we would love to experiment new things. Like, okay, I would want to wear this. Okay, I'm gonna head to church, but
I think
I'm
that
gonna
also,
look
yeah,
good.
the
Yeah.
whole church thing also brings
Yeah.
about just being very
Yeah.
well turned out.
Plus, but also, I think K-pop was something that was so big back then, like in Manipur. It still is, but I think it started from the Northeast. Because I remember my aunt used to listen to Big Bang or like 2NE1 and all of these K-pop singers, and they used to dress so well that we would also want to look like them. And we would have these magazines. We would cut them out and like paste it on our walls. We used to listen like different. It was insane. Like we used to mix and match clothes. So I think, yeah, I mean, we don't get enough recognition, to be honest, like the Northeasterns, but we, yeah, basically,
No, the
yeah.
sense of style that I have personally noticed, and especially because, of course, in Delhi University, we end up interacting so much with everyone, is, yeah, these guys had the best style. And this was much before people were taking pictures and posting them up.
And plus, also, we had like a range of what we could try. Like, we had, when they were different, like when, again, with music, there were different sort of bands. So they would be like punk, gothic, and we would try that. When you look at K-pop movies, all of these romantic movies, they were more of the more subtle, the more those girls. So like we could try like a
lot of
range,
variety.
yeah, a variety,
Yeah.
like a different personality for
Yeah.
everything.
Aman, one question I always get from clients that I work with who are brands or designers, and especially people who've not dipped their toes into influencer marketing, or older designers who are used to traditional forms of marketing, which are hoardings or ads in a magazine. Many questions that we get from them, of course, because they're apprehensive, it's a new form of money spent for them. How sustainable is this going to be? Because it's new, it came out, it's literally burst into the scene. Usually social change in these kind of things take a long time, and this just came and it's blown up. But is it a bubble? Is it going to blow up and go away? Is it going to evolve into something else? Will it go away and then are we going to go back to print? What do you see in, like, you deal with clients so often. How are they picking creators as well? That's my second question.
So to answer your first question, I don't think influencer marketing is a bubble. I think the current landscape is how it's blown out of proportion, how quickly it surged to a point where everyone is trying to become a creator. Every brand is investing into creators and influencer marketing. I think that might slow down over time. So because obviously with bubbles, it has to die down at some point. But I think what hasn't changed and I don't think it'll ever change, is what the fundamentals of influencer marketing is. What? It's word of mouth. It's people who are relatable, people who you look up to, people who you aspire to be like, whether it's your friend or a celebrity, doesn't matter. That it's the same fundamentals. If they are the ones conveying information to you and you relate to them, you'd want to be influenced by them. You'd want to listen to them. So while this whole landscape of influencer marketing has just become that now the influencers are just what? Digital friends of yours. That these are people you know of, these are people you think like, okay, initially when it was celebrities, they were too far away. You felt they were out of reach. Now with influencers, you feel like, oh, but she's also someone who's exactly like me, same age group, similar upbringing, similar cities, colleges, schools, whatever. So if they can become this and they're endorsing, and I like how they wear, I like what they wear, I like where they go, I like how they live the lifestyle, I want to be like them. brands have to realize that this is the new wave, and like people prefer authenticity, people prefer relatability. So this is why more and more brands, and it's bound to happen. I think we still don't even hit the surge or like the top of brands getting into influencer marketing. It's just the start. So it's definitely here for the next 5-6 years, easy. Because more and more traditional brands, how you said, are realizing that, okay, like me running traditional ads, digital, print, isn't actually working anymore. But me investing all that money into people and also like macros of people, not one single celebrity, but let's say 100 creators, 1,000 creators, is actually way more beneficial because it's converting into a community, it's converting into content, and eventually it's converting into leads and revenue and whatever else they're looking for. So yes, it's here to stay. It might evolve, whereby I feel the hype around influencer marketing might die down, but it'll become more niche and more specific to who's the creator, what kind of content do they create, is it relatable to my brand, are their audience something that I want to tap into, is it the same target audience? So introspection into individual creators or communities of creators will become a lot more, because you will want to dive down further, you'll want to get into analytics, and then is when you'll make an investment into it, not just because there's hype around it. So I think that's what might happen. Your second question was,
How are brands choosing creators now, like to this day?
brands actually lack a lot of awareness right now. So one of the reasons why most brands come to us is because we do position ourselves as one of the experts in this space. That we do have a lot of insight and knowledge about influencer marketing. Because most brand owners, like how you said, they're older men. They've not older people in general. They've not invested in digital. They're not invested in social media marketing as of yet. So they look for solutions. They just know that, okay, influencer marketing is the buzz. Everyone's doing it. I want to do it. How we help them is like, cool, what is your brand? What do you stand for? What are your price points at? Okay, what is it, a mass brand? Is it a premium brand? Is it a luxury brand? Then you identify and cater that to different levels of creators that exist, because everyone has a different audience, right? Someone is very happy to be a luxury content creator and remains secluded to that niche of audience. So, and there are other creators who are like, okay, we have masses. So then we help them identify that this is the category you have to operate in. And then we further dive down to what level of content relevance is there. Was it fashion? Is it beauty? Is it comedy? Is it art? Is it entertainment? Further boils down to what's the engagement level, right? What is the kind of gender ratio within the audience? Those metrics really matter. So again, like to answer the first question as well, while more and more brands get aware about influencer marketing and how it works, these metrics will become more and more important.
So,
I genuinely feel like in India, with the whole, when you're working with a creator, it's so a bit more backwards. When you look at when brands come up to you to like work with you, they're more into the more advertisement sort of a thing. And plus, we're creators.
Where
We
it's just
like
very
to
direct.
which is too direct. I mean, we're creators. We have our own thing going on. We're very relatable. We would wanna put up something that is more us. Brands expect us to make very advertisement, like it's something that it's I think if you look at this, if you look outside, if you look abroad, if you look at the States, they're more relatable. And plus people that watch us want relatable content, that okay, I would actually want to get this, I would actually, oh, it looks good on her, I would want how I would put it. So I think India that way is a bit more backward on that sense.
Yeah, but they need to see how you are making their brand your own. So, one last thing that I'll touch upon when we open up for questions. Since we are called Runway to Reels, do you guys at all still get affected or inspired by Bollywood or the runway, whether it's or Hollywood, at all in your creation of your content, or do you just kind of like really shut it down and like, I'm going to do this. This is my platform, and do you give into trends and stuff like that, or not really? Go ahead.
I do like trends, but I only take up the ones that I feel that have a potential for my own individual twist to it. You know, Bollywood is not something that excites me when it comes to fashion. Runway definitely is. Which is why sometimes when I create things, you obviously, you know, look around at Pinterest or like different, be it like Vogue Runway or something or the other, where, you know, some way or the other you find some inspiration in some places. And I think that should never stop you, you know, when you're looking for inspiration and trying not to copy, but having your own twist to it and your own individualistic thing showing through it. I think you should always be encouraged to do that as long as it's you.
For me, Bollywood has always inspired me. I love creating Indian content, and more 90s and 2000s, I feel like that will never be. I'm sounding so old right now. That will never be done before. And as much as I mean, you see 15-year-olds, they are creating reels, they're making trends out of songs that were there before they even existed, long before they even existed. So I love that. So I love Bollywood. Of course, there's so much inspiration everywhere from the runway, of course. I love trends. I love watching them more than doing them because I'll only do a trend if I just saw it once and I cannot get it out of my head. And if there is something I can do to it, otherwise, but I love just consuming it. I love how creative people get with it. I feel like there's just such a vast variety of people creating such incredible content, and there's just this is a great place to consume right now. So I love that.
I think I'm going to break it down into like two things. Again, the trends, and one is about the runway. So, I mean, basically creation. In terms of trends, I remember I was having this interview a while back, and they asked me if I was into trends. I am, but I'm also not. What you can actually do is gather all those trends together and create a style of your own. I think that's so important because, again, a trend dies down and then you're on to the next and to the next. But what can you do with it? You can obviously create something more, something better, and make it of your own. Now, in terms of creation, definitely I love the runway. I used to love reading magazines, and I think today when I create something, it's mostly because of like, your experiences. So not just experiences and your visualization. Everything that I've experienced while growing up, be with mom, dad, your friends, even with because everything that you see it's gonna inspire you. So I think with that, definitely the whole fashion runways, it's all been gathered up together to create something that everything I visualize in my head, I would create it today.
For you, I'll change the question quickly. What do you see the younger ones picking up on when they are creating? Do you think that it's a throwback, like Diksha said, to our old 90s and 2000s, or do you think it's more like current, or they're making a whole new thing?
I think it's what inspires them more. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both. And there's again, it comes down to relatability. Which content do you relate to more? I'm a Bollywood full on, so I would relate to content that's around Bollywood, that music, that genre, that era. That is something I still fantasize in. I think a lot of people in the similar space do. Yet there are people who wouldn't relate to it, but they would look for inspiration through runways, through current trends that exist, which is way more forward. It's way more about creative expression that is new. It's more about like going from 0 to 1 versus what I think is Bollywood is like, okay, cool, you can bring back stuff, right? So it's already done and dusted. You can just bring it back in your own formats. So yeah, I think it's subjective. It just goes both ways.
Lovely. Does anyone have any questions? We'll be winding up in about